every single plane is some different problem to solve. And now when it's a satellite departure and it's a fast climbing jet and they're going at a boundary or the routing doesn't work and you have to do something quickly.
Ready.
Welcome to Opposing Bases Air Traffic Talk, an aviation podcast by two air traffic controllers and rated pilots who love to talk about flying, controlling, and everything in between. The show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be used as a substitute for your instructor, your supervisor, the FAA, the NTSB, or your CAT. The show will give you a better understanding of how things work in the National Airspace System and maybe even make you laugh along the way. Please welcome retired Army pilot Alpha Golf and first officer at Penguin Airlines, Romeo Hotel.
It's Wednesday, May 13th, 2026, episode 437. On today's show, we'll help everyone understand the pitfalls of blasting off VFR, looking for your IFR clearance, learn more about the ancient art of flying without GPS, and answer more of your aviation questions. What's up, BG?
Hello, everyone.
Happy Doubleheader Wednesday.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this to ourselves?
I don't know.
I have to work next week. I'll be gone.
You've done this to us.
I know. I will not be around. There's no opportunity to record, so we're doing it now.
All right.
I just got back from a domestic trip. No oceans. I flew the plane twice.
Wow.
I landed twice. No go-rounds.
Okay. All winning.
All went. Oh, and it was commutable on both sides. That means I could go to work and come home on the days the trip started and ended. And you were part of the commuting anxiety on day 4. And it worked out.
Oh, yes. Right.
I make it a rule, and I really try to do this. I don't just say I'm going to do it. I really try to practice this. I don't worry about the commute home until I know I'm on my way and I'm going to make it by a certain time.
Yeah.
Not the day before, not 2 days before, not as we're going. Up. Yeah, you don't worry about it. There's nothing I can do.
Right.
I will not be the reason we don't make it on time, or it's going to be something else. The system, the plane, maintenance, something.
Right.
And I followed that rule, and as we got closer, and the reality hit that I could do this. I have
this
buff.
Could be a possibility.
Then I was stricken with anxiety. Because every little thing that happened on the radio, every little turn we got in the wrong direction, I let that instantly get to me. So I was good until the last 30 minutes. We got a 50-degree turn to the left on our hello to the Tracon, the wrong direction. And this might only be a minute or two, but it makes a difference. That minute or two is the difference between me physically getting from our gate to the gate that I'm going home on. So
you see them shutting the door.
It's like they knew. Is that is that pilot trying to get home? Turn him
Close
left.
It up.
Turn him north.
Yep. Oh, you have someone commuting on board? Turn 50 degrees left.
Oh, how have you been?
I'm tired.
Tell us about last week.
Yeah, just an extra mid. It would have been better, really, if they were just 3 in a row. But I had that day in between that then you're trying to go back to some kind of normal schedule. I tried to sleep in to sort of stay reversed out, but it's almost impossible. It's just your body doesn't want to do that. So
share the good news. What happened on the way home from the last mid?
Oh, right. A huge milestone. Something that, everyone looks forward to in the future and few achieve. And that is seeing your odometer go to all fours, 6 of them. 444, 444. No, not with a decimal. Okay, 444,444. A rare occurrence.
Where did this happen?
On the way home from my third mid. The worst case scenario, as you prophesied. You spoke that into existence.
It's all part of my plan.
It wasn't on the tank of gas that you thought it was going to be on, though.
All right.
It was on the next tank, but still, it was on a mid.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible. It could have gone very, very differently. But you warned me to set an alarm or put a sticky note or something. So I set multiple alarms on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I couldn't mess it up.
You've captured this milestone on video. One day we'll share that. I'm working on an edit as we speak.
Okay.
It's adding things to do, but your videos were very good, very suspenseful, and I felt like I was living the milestone with you. So
Good.
Congrats on that, and keep us tuned on the next one. All 5s.
All 5. Well, 500, 500,000 is going to be
a big deal.
But I'm a couple years from that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to drive that much. So,
Shall we begin?
All right.
Since OB436, we have a couple new supporters on the Iceberg, Sierra Bravo, and Hotel Papa are new on Supercast. If you've been enjoying the show and you want to take it to the next level, you can join our premium feed on Supercast. Supporters get every episode on time with no delays, our entire back catalog of 436 other episodes, access to our live stream, where you can watch my color change on my face every 4 seconds, bonus audio, and a direct line to us through our supporter-only email. You'll keep the show ad-free and community-supported. You can learn more or sign up at opposingbases.supercast.com. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Review and no announcements.
Review and no announcements.
I saved this one. I'm trying
to figure out what is being talked about here.
So something happened, and I wish I could explain it. How do I summarize this so people aren't bored to death? Audio for a voice-only show, podcast, is sometimes a challenge. We record from different places, and something happened in the way we do our edit, like maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Oh. Something changed on the way it was coming out over the airwaves.
Huh.
I have since, I believe, found the issue, fixed it, and hopefully sounding a little bit better. I've gotten a little feedback from people who've pointed it out. And we don't get a ton of that. We don't get a ton of like hate mail about the audio. But when we do, that I pay attention to it. Like, hold on, something's happening here.
Right.
And anyway, that's what's happening in this review. This was before the fix.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. First of all, you know what I'm going to say.
I couldn't find the email. It's not displayed right for you, and I apologize.
Yeah, it's really the formatting is just...
It's terrible.
It's almost can't even look at it.
I really wanted to get to this point of the conversation to see how you handled it. So far, you're doing great. Keep it up.
Okay. 5 stars, audio titled Audio Issue, but you guys rock. I love your show. I love it even more as a tool that I can give to the students at the flight school that I serve at. One minor issue that I thought I would bring to your attention. When I listen to your podcast on Apple Podcasts, especially recently, I've noticed that there is a slight modulation whenever either one of you speak. It sounds as if you are both talking from underneath about 1 inch of water. Not 3/4 of an inch. Not 2 inches of water, but 1 inch. I'm kidding. This is the only complaint I have given in a 5-star review to This is the only complaint I have given in a 5-star review to any company or entity ever. But rules is rules. You guys are 5-star review worthy. I just thought I would point out this issue in case you were unaware. Well, thank you for the feedback and for the 5-star review.
Mm-hmm.
And as Ari said, I believe we have solved this problem.
Mm-hmm. As far as announcements, we usually share aviation milestones here. We don't have any for this episode. I believe we have one on the next one, and maybe one or two sitting in the inbox for the next few shows, but keep sending those in. It's springtime. Certificates go on an uptick during the spring because the weather improves, so send them, and we'll share them on the show. Moving on. Time feedback. You did that long review and suffered through that. I'll get number one.
Yeah, I had to look at that formatting.
From Supercaster Bravo Yankee. Hello, favorite penguin herders. Bravo Yankee here. I happen to work for a quantum technology firm. I just feel like you're smart for saying that.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. Did you watch Quantum Leap when we were kids?
Yeah, a little. I wasn't like a devoted fan, but when I came home from school at 4:00 and I was eating my cereal, sometimes it was on if I didn't want to watch Star Trek.
It was a daytime show?
I think later on,
Okay.
like reruns.
I
remember those?
Yes, I remember reruns.
Okay. Sorry.
Kids, if you're listening, that means we watched something that was already put out into the TV world. It'd be like rewatching one of your favorite shows on a streaming service. Watch it again. That's a rerun.
Right.
All right. Near the Tall Tree Delta, beneath the Sourdough Bravo, where I don't know what that word is, nerds are working on solutions to exactly the question the Badger pilot asked in Slant Useless, episode 429. Some penguins for your iceberg. AJ, you nailed the vulnerability, and you were right that spoofing is scarier than jamming. Jamming gives you a failure CAS message. That's a crew alerting system message on your panel. Spoofing is deceptive. Autopilot stays engaged. The map looks fine, but the aircraft drifts off course. Pilots flying near conflict zones in the Middle East already turned GPS off before entering those areas to preserve their inertial systems, because once spoofed, data gets integrated into the INS drift corrections. It corrupts the navigation even after the attack stops. GPS interference events are up 20x since 2018. This is real. Any comments on that so far?
We did not. I did not experience any of this overseas. On my 2 trips, there wasn't a ton of this going on. In 09 and 10, on my first one, this wasn't even really talked about at all.
All right.
It was definitely discussed on my second one, but we were pretty isolated there, and there was no, the insurgency or whatever you call it at the time didn't really have this capability. So,
all right, Bravo Yankee continues to the Badger pilot's question. The industry calls the solution bucket Alt PNT, alternative position navigation and timing. The leading approaches are Vision Nav, low Earth orbit satellite PNT, Celestial Nav, automated star trackers, and magnetic anomaly navigation. The last one is genuinely incredible and is our team's focus. The Earth's thin top crust is a geologic record. When volcanic rock cools, magnetic minerals permanently lock in the direction and intensity of the planet's magnetic field at the moment. Over billions of years, as the poles reversed and new crusts form, each generation of rock recorded the field of its era. The result is a complex, unique, and permanent magnetic zebra-striped fingerprint everywhere on the planet that cannot be jammed, spoofed, or switched off. Magnetic navigation reads the fingerprint with sensitive sensors, matches it to a known map, and produces an absolute position fix with no satellite or ground station required. From a pilot perspective, this is not a new instrument to stare at. It's a background layer that continuously anchors the internal navigation system so that drift, AG described having to recage by flying over lake edges, and the Chinook stays bounded indefinitely, automatically, without GPS or a VOR. And for the low price of $6 million per airframe, you too could have this magnetic fingerprint.
Right.
AG, you said GPS denial in Afghanistan would have been a significant workload increase. Paint us a picture of that cockpit. And if the magnav on another combination of alternatives had been running in the background, keeping your eye honest the whole time, would you have wanted to know what it was doing and how many cookies it had earned? Or would you have been mad that someone distracted you with that information?
Great question. Okay, so what would it have been like in the cockpit to have your GPS just not available at all? I mean, just to give you an idea, we flew around frequently at night when it was so dark that the goggles only amplify available light. If there is no available light, they're not super helpful. So you have starlight, but when you go into a really steep valley and there's no moonlight, and now you're limiting starlight by however many degrees, of this valley, 30 degrees maybe on each side, you're really cutting down. So it's very, very dark. You cannot see the terrain very well at all. We use terrain banding, which I'm sure is a tool available on most, EFBs now. But this displayed on a map on the dash, yellow was, you could set the parameters what you want. We usually set yellow to 500 feet below us, and red is your altitude or less. So if you run into a red part of the map, you are going to strike the earth. So not being able to see outside, we flew frequently in valleys just steering away from red.
And the red was generated based on an internal radar that was scanning or GPS driven
based
data?
On map data.
Okay.
Based on map data. So leave yourself a buffer, which is why we put the other one to 500, and then we tried to stay really far away from even those yellow lines. So stay in an area where there is no color banding at all. If your GPS didn't work and you're relying solely on looking outside, you can't see anything.
Right.
It would be really scary. Mm-hmm. In fact, it would make some of those missions we did basically impossible. Like, no, there's no way we're not going in there. And going in there in the daytime would have been really even worse. No good. No, don't go there in the daytime.
Right, because then the bad people could see you.
You're probably not coming out of there.
Right.
Yeah.
RH, the Concorde did the North Atlantic higher, faster, and with zero GPS on board for decades. You fly the tracks to London every week now. Have you or anyone on your crew ever actually experienced a GPS anomaly or spoofing event over the ocean? What did the cockpit look like? I can't say that on the show because I would get in trouble. No. For me, I have not seen that. I haven't heard of anybody over the Atlantic it happening. Just generally speaking, I feel like that happens over land, where it's easier to get to us, but go ahead.
Yeah, because the stuff that we always dealt with or talked about was based on equipment on the ground locally. Like it had to be, there wasn't some way to do it remotely. Like, okay, let's take out these satellites over this area. No. You actually had to have a device or something on the ground, at least to my knowledge. Now, I'm sure there's, when you're talking about big world governments,
satellite type of stuff,
yeah, on that sort of level. But this stuff was just, people on the ground trying to make your life miserable.
So our airplanes have INS, and it probably flew for a couple decades without GPS on board as well. So it's more than capable of doing it without that added GPS layer of exact location, and very accurate. They're very close, and you can pull up a page and see which one is, driving the ship in terms of our exact position. And the INS is usually very close to the GPS. So if we lost it, there are some things that would happen for us to make sure we're navigating properly. But I've even gone through the exercise of using our paperwork, which is just one giant nav log going over the ocean. Now, granted, there's hardly any turning. You're in general in one direction the whole way, maybe with like 10 or 15 degree turns occasionally when you get to lat longs. But it is surprisingly accurate, even with the wind predictions. If all you had was your compass and the paperwork, and this is like apocalyptic scenario. This isn't likely, don't worry. But if you had nothing else to navigate on, you could get very close to the exact spot in space you wanted to arrive in with time and headings, like actual dead reckoning using our paperwork. It's very, very accurate. So squawking 1200 and over to CTAF Penguin Explorer, Bravo Yankee. Excellent feedback. Thank you for sharing that. And good luck working on that in quantum physics land.
Yeah, right. That's cool, though. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Do you want number 2?
Number 2 from Supercaster Tango Hotel, RHNAG, in the wake of the most recent tragedy, Propat Cat, our center friend, who has great content, explained in a real critical incident stress management, or CISM. Have either of you seen CISM come to the aid of a coworker after an incident? And is there an equivalent at Penguin Airlines? Thanks for all you do, Penguin Explorer Tango Hotel from under the Space City Bravo. I'm trying to remember the stuff that CISM did during the hurricane, maybe? Were they out there delivering supplies and flying stuff around to controllers in affected areas? Not Helene, but you remember those 2 hurricanes we had years before that?
Yeah. My friends in the union are screaming if they're listening, they're screaming at the audio. I want to say, I don't think that's the same group.
It's not. Okay.
I don't think it's the same group.
I wasn't sure.
Okay.
So the other group is a sort of a less formal, or I don't really.
I will find the name of that and we can discuss later, but it's not less formal. It's recognized, and it's, there's teams but it's more of a delivery mechanism for, all the things you need in a sort of disaster: generators, fuel, clothing, immediate needed items for, like food and all the things.
Yeah, yeah.
This is different.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the end of my input on this. I have no other knowledge of it.
Okay. I'll aid a little bit. The Controllers Union, ACA, does have CISM, like he spoke about on that reel, critical incident stress management. I have a little bit of experience with this, but it's meant to be anonymous. And, unless you've dealt with them individually due to an incident that happened at work or some other event in your life, you probably wouldn't know day to day that someone was using that resource. But they are immediately available. There's plenty of ways for the controllers to use that phone number. If you're not unsure of how to reach them, you can talk to your facility representative, and they can get you in touch with a rep from your region pretty quickly, like within the hour, if you needed to talk to somebody. I was involved in a couple of accidents/incidents over my career, and they did show up at the facility a couple of times. So I have seen them in action, and it's a great resource.
Okay.
On the Penguin Airlines side, as do many airlines, have a peer support program. It's called SOAR, Support Outreach Assistance and Resources. And it's not just for tragedy, it's for pilots that need confidential peer support. That's an important aspect of any time that someone with a medical is talking about things in their life. They want it to be confidential, and peer-to-peer is important because it's somebody who understands what you're going through. So, yes, they're out there, and they're great resources. I encourage everybody to use them. If you think you need them, you do.
Okay. Cool.
Anything to add on that one?
I don't. Thank you.
Why don't you get number 3 then, since I did all
fine.
that one?
Yeah, sure. Number 3 for... This is from the Orlando Tracon Pilot Outreach email group we discussed on a recent episode that was on 432. Hi, guys. Wanted to reach out and say thank you for the shout out on the podcast. We really appreciate you featuring us and helping bring more attention to what we're trying to build here. Apologies for missing your original email asking for comments. We would have absolutely loved to contribute, but we're grateful you mentioned us regardless. Your support has already helped grow our little community, and that means a lot to us. We're looking forward to listening to the episode and hearing your take on our facility. Thanks again for everything you do for the aviation community. It doesn't go unnoticed. Best regards. Orlando Radar Briefs at gmail.com. So if you're down in that area and you want to get into this email string, Orlando Radar Briefs, radar, R-A-D-A-R, at gmail.com.
Yes. When you send them an email, it automatically responds, and I think you're added to their list. So you're putting yourself on a list for them to communicate with pilots interested in more efficient, streamlined practice approaches in an area that in the country that is saturated with general aviation traffic. And what these controllers have done is really good. They're sort of modern day memorializing things that we did a long time ago by LOA with flight schools. And I cannot imagine how they survive without it. It's a very good system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, moving on. Fancy jet music. I'm playing fancy jet music. You can't hear it.
Okay, I can't hear
it. This week's show topic is brought to us by Supergaster Bravo Charlie. I have some audio to play.
Hi, Bravo Charlie here. I'm a huge fan of your show and listen every week. Recently, you talked about the advantages of picking up an IFR clearance in the air, and I understand how that sometimes can be efficient for everyone involved. At the same time, I think it's important to warn pilots that this is not always a welcome approach in some areas. Recently, I was flying near the city of brotherly love, and the air traffic controller did not have much love for a pilot who asked for his clearance in the air. The response he got was, unable, say intentions. As you could imagine, there was quite a long pause after that. I later learned that in that area, they strongly discourage this practice, and it often has something to do with people trying to cut the line in terms of dispatch and departure time delays. Anyway, what I've learned is the foolproof way to get around this is if you're not 100% sure it's going to be a welcome approach, is simply call the phone number that you would use to pick up your clearance on the ground and ask them whether it's okay to pick it up in the air and whether they actually prefer that. I find that if you do this, you can be sure that you're going to get the right kind of approach that you're looking for. Anyway, again, love your show and thank you for everything you do. Bye.
And we're not looping. Excellent.
I saved that at the last minute. Within 3 seconds of the end of that.
Excellent.
Yep.
Before I want to let you run off on this, because this is current and happening, 2 things. One, I saw this come up online recently, so this is very timely, like you mentioned. I think Prop Hat Cat just did a short reel on it, too. It was very timely. And second, let's explain it real quick. For airports without a tower, if you want an IFR clearance, there are a couple of different ways you can get your clearance. You can get it on the ground using a frequency that's advertised, maybe, but more common is a phone number where you're calling the facility that runs that airspace. You're getting your clearance and eventually calling them again when you're ready for departure and departing with a release time, a window of time that controller has given you. It's not, we're talking about non-towered airports. Okay. The other way is to pick it up airborne. Depart VFR. You want your IFR. You call the approach or center controller and say, I'm airborne off of this airport. I want my IFR to this place. That's where we're at. That's the brief summary of the background of this type of audio. Initial thoughts?
Yeah, we have talked about this before, but it's always good to refresh this.
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, so our south sector is known for satellite operations. It's full of non-towered airports, one of which is very busy, and there is a remote frequency on the ground at that busier place, but the other ones don't have it. The remote does make it easier for the controller to just deal directly with the pilot, but it's also another thing they have to do when it's busy. The other sector, west, which typically combined with final into triad, is not accustomed to doing a lot of satellites. But right now, Cigarette is the tower is closed at Cigarette, and it is a satellite that is extremely busy for IFR jet operations. It's also significantly more complicated when we're on the 5s, because almost everyone is departing off of 1.5.
Oh, no.
When the tower is open, they prevent that from happening by just being on 3.3, which is much more advantageous for us. So you can see that even just at our little facility, how configurations and landing directions can make something more complicated, and sometimes even impossible. And when you're talking about a place like this that's way more complex, a lot more airspace, a whole lot more players, and a lot of airplanes, I can see how they could just say, no, it's not happening. I can't do it. For numerous reasons. Flow definitely being one of those that we don't have to deal with. It was interesting, though, yesterday, the guy that I was training, who has worked arrival at a level 12 and final at a level 12 facility. So the busiest traffic you basically can have, said, I am more exhausted and more stressed out today than I have been in this job in a long time.
Let's pause right there.
Okay.
We have another controller who left this facility years ago and has been at busy facilities and has been, I think, at the same place as the one you're talking about, and has said out loud at that facility, I can almost promise you that the controller that's calling you is busier than you right now. Explain that to a level 12 who's never been anywhere else. They've only been at 12s.
Yeah.
Explain that to them.
So just from what I gathered from this person I've been training, some, not a ton, but some recently, is that all the planes you're talking to are basically doing the same thing. You tell them the same stuff. Yes, there are way more of them, way more. But they're all jets, and they're all doing the same thing. Occasionally you might have a slower plane, and by that I mean like a King Air or a Pilatus.
Right. Certainly not.
Eventually are going to be going the same speed as the jets. So each individual plane doesn't require a lot of extra brain power in terms of what am I going to do with this plane. You know what's going to happen. You're doing the same thing with it. It's the same thing you did with the last plane and the one before that and the one before that. At Triad, there is never any of that. Every single plane is some different problem to solve. And now when it's a satellite departure and it's a fast climbing jet and they're going at a boundary or the routing doesn't work, and you have to do something quickly. Oh, but I forgot to turn that guy on final into Triad. Oh, and there's this other one going on to final into Cigarette. And, there is a whole lot of stuff happening that isn't standard. It isn't a groove you can get in. It isn't a routine. There's nothing routine about it. And now you're on some time critical thing, and a student pilot calls up and tells you their life history, the color of their plane, and he's just over there pulling his air. I go, oh my gosh, please make it stop.
Okay, that's good. That's a good explanation. There's a difference in the type of traffic. It might be less of them, but they are each unique and require their own set of details that may not be associated with more volume type of airspace. So
right. And so how that relates to this particular feedback is that satellite, non-towered, IFR airborne pickups require timeliness and some level of complexity that you may not have been prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just consuming brain power that you may not have to devote to that operation. So
another thing that could have been happening up there, and I imagine it plays a big role, is north-south traffic in the busiest highway in the sky, the jet highways between, all the way up and down the East Coast, mainly ending near Florida or in Florida, are usually prone to ground delay programs. And I can see the likelihood of a jet calling off of a busy airport near or inside of the Mode C Veil at the Class Bravo at Brotherly Love Bravo, wanting an IFR that goes in direct conflict with not only the traffic at that airport, but to a place that would have held you on the ground for your appropriate slot time. We're going to break that down a little bit coming up. So there's two audiences here, if we can be very general. The jet audience that's trying to go somewhere far, not normally picking up IFR in the air, but suspicious if they are, because they know better.
Right.
So what are you trying to get around here? We'll talk about that. And then there's the other half of that is general aviation pilots that may not realize that the proximity of that specific airport that day just doesn't lend itself to an immediate pickup. So I just want to make it clear that we're not saying anything bad about the controllers there, but it depends on the situation, on what type of service. The next day, different time of day, that pilot may not have gotten any pushback at all from the controller. There's no constraints that prevent them from issuing that airborne clearance. You mentioned it in the audio. If you're ever in doubt, call for the clearance and ask for local practice. Hey, we're thinking about leaving here in like the next hour. How likely is it that we'll be able to get a release, or get it in the air? Whoever you're talking to is in that room. They're reading the room. They can tell you, that's a terrible idea. Don't do that. Call us when you're ready. We have to get you flow because you're going to one of these 12 airports that we have flow to. Please don't do that. Or they may say, hey, it's kind of slow right now. Give us a call a little bit closer, but they'll give you the up-to-date information on. So you pick up the phone in the Tracon. What are you saying to this person who says, hey, I want to leave Coat Factory and I'm heading northeastbound. Can I pick it up in the air? What's your normal type of response?
Yeah, depending on their destination. If it's somewhere that doesn't matter. I'm not saying they don't matter, but in terms of a delay, it doesn't make any difference. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Call us airborne. Why would you do that, though, when you can call on the ground on an RCO right from the end of the runway?
Uh-huh.
We're getting that a lot now. This is happening a lot. Because, and I'm guessing it's because of EFBs, when they look in the tab or wherever it is, I'm not super familiar, but they're seeing for clearance, it says in there, for clearance, call this phone number. It doesn't say, hey, you could call the controller directly on this frequency. So they're calling the Tracon. This is also happening at Triad for departures off of Triad.
I thought we stopped that.
No, it hasn't stopped. It happens every day now.
Huh.
Hey, we're on the ground at Triad. We're looking for our IFR. Well, what? You're on the ground here?
Is your radio not working?
Yeah. Did you try clearance? Well, no, it just says to call this number. No, sir. We are 24/7, 365. Call clearance delivery. Oh.
I don't think I ever had that happen when I was there. That's interesting.
And it happens at Cigarette, too, while the tower is open.
All right.
They call us.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right, number 3 here is for, let's talk in general terms for general aviation. Under 10 to 12,000 feet, and you want to pick up your airborne clearance, and the controller says unable. What are your options as a pilot? If for some reason you couldn't issue it, they came off southbound, you're on 5s, you have a final stream, they're about to be in conflict with your final traffic going into triad, and it's sus weather, what would you say? What are their options?
Yeah, if the weather's bad and then you're not going to be able to climb and get out of the way, yeah, go turn around. Go back and land. Call me on the ground. Mm-hmm. And I can build space. I can build the space to do this. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, that's that's no one's favorite thing. I promise. No, controllers don't want that to happen. Obviously, the pilots don't want to have to turn around and go back. Mm-hmm. And I cannot stress how important it is to not skip number 2 that we just talked about, calling on the phone, especially if the weather's sketch. Like you're not, and when I say sketch, I mean below like 2,000 feet. Mm-hmm. My light just turned off. It's hard for me to imagine this kind of scenario where we are because we just don't have enough airspace and conflicts for this to be a problem. Mm-hmm. You certainly could get a significant delay in getting your clearance in certain places and in certain weather, but I'm probably eventually going to be able to help you, mm-hmm. unless the weather is just that bad. But yeah, I mean, turn around, I guess. Call me on the ground. The other option is you stay VFR, you get away from this. Maybe you try to file one off of another airport. Because mm-hmm. like we've talked about before, if you fly too far away from your original airport, out of the jurisdiction, the next facility isn't going to have it. Mm-hmm. They're going to have no idea who you are or what you're talking about.
Zero idea. Once you leave 15, 20 miles from that airport, could be way less than that. You're gone. Nobody knows who you are.
Right. And if you're still within this facility, but you're just a couple sectors over, mm-hmm. and they say, and you say, I want to pick up my IFR, and they say, where, from where are you departing? And you say, and they're like, well, what?
No idea who you are.
Yeah. I don't have anything for you. And I don't have time to go look for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in a jet. When you're in a jet, let me just say, and you are trying to get a clearance airborne, here are the things not in your favor. Climbing at 4,000 feet a minute. Okay? The controller sees your climb rate. They just see hundreds of feet ticking off. They're already stressed. That is stressing them out.
Right.
Because you are going to climb out of their airspace very quickly.
Into someone else's that you don't have control in. And as soon as I say clear to, make you IFR, I just had a deal.
Yeah,
Yay.
So I can't do that. So I feel very time constrained to try to get you this thing before, or I have to stop you. And once you stop at, let's say, 12,000, or if you're under the arrival airspace at 10 or something, now you're just going to start going so fast that you're going towards a lateral boundary and not a vertical one. Mm-hmm. So when you're going fast and climbing fast in a jet, especially into areas that you would never normally be allowed to go IFR, I'm not sending you intentionally IFR into the arrival stream into Metroplex.
Not going to happen.
That is a no-go area. We just don't go there. Mm-hmm. But when you put yourself there VFR, it makes it basically impossible for me to get you a clearance. Mm-hmm. It's never going to happen. Good luck. Contact the center.
Yep.
Maybe they can help you.
With their magic computers, because they are over this airspace, and they may have your flight plan, but you have created an urgency situation that we cannot solve. Goodbye.
Right.
Unable, say intentions. If it's not, this goes into number 5. If it's not solid VFR and you can't continue VFR, that's on you. Don't blame the controller.
Right.
If you're pinched and you're stuck low is one thing, but if you're, eventually going to climb at 4,000 feet a minute, eventually you're going to hit some clouds, most likely, in most parts of this country.
Yeah.
That's on you. You did that to yourself.
Right.
Don't put it on the controller to be in a hurry. Well, what do you want us to do? We can't go any higher. Well, I can't do anything. Maintain VFR.
Right. So my advice for that, if you're not familiar with the airspace, or that facility, is at least slow down a little bit, stay lower, give yourself a cap. Mm-hmm. If you want this to be a little more streamlined and the process to go smoothly, don't climb to 17.5. Okay, at 4,000 feet a minute and 250 knots.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. And fly away from a Bravo.
Mm-hmm.
Fly not straight at a big facility. The times we have to say no, or you're going to get delayed, or make wild turns, more than 90-degree turns for this clearance to happen, is when jets come off and they go straight at Metroplex and they're screaming
mm-hmm.
fast and climbing high. Stop mm-hmm. doing that if you want this to work.
Mm-hmm. But I'm at a non-towered airport that's nowhere near Metroplex. How could I possibly know where to go and where not to go?
Right. So you just have to think about, if you're a jet going into Metroplex, do you want to stay at 30,000 feet until you're 20 miles from the airport? You don't? Oh, you wanted to start descending like 100 miles ago? Huh. Weird. Okay. So now you are a conflict with those planes, which, by the way, into Metroplex don't stop. They just keep going.
It's all day.
All day long. 5 miles in trail. All day long.
And experience says that arrival controller working the arrival from the Northeast into Metroplex is not going to pick up the phone when Triad calls and says, point out.
Yeah, I like to make this Challenger.
See that guy setting off all those RAs? He wants his IFR. No.
It's not even a no you're going to get. It's going to be a no by default because they never answered.
They're not picking up the phone. Okay, that feeds into number 6 here. So, not sure you didn't give us a ton of information on what type of pilot was being told unable, say intentions, but I'd like to think that it was a jet and they were circumventing some sort of flow program. What does that mean? Their airport was just like every other airport in the NAS. It doesn't matter where you're leaving from. It's where you're going is usually the problem. And there's a delay associated with it. It could be somewhere en route. It could be the airport itself that's ground stopped. And the center controllers and the traffic management units that work inside of those centers spend their entire day finding little holes in this highway of traffic going in that direction for airplanes to fit in. And when it's time for you to leave, you call and say, I would like a reservation on this jet airway going to Florida, for example. Mm-hmm. Sure, we can have you airborne in 16 minutes. Well, that is 16 minutes that some people don't want to spend. So they think, I'm going to take off and I'm going to call this local controller who has nothing to do with Florida, local in the area regionally, and they'll give me a clearance. I'll get around this program. And in this case, it could have been the pilot trying to do that, and they said, unable, say intentions. I can't clear you because you would have been subject to the flow program for every airport in this area that we know about. And just because you took off doesn't mean that you've become my problem to solve. What do you want to do? If you can't make it VFR all the way to Florida, which I'm guessing you can't at 17.5,
right,
then you would be better spent on the ground on the phone. And here's a couple things that could come up on that phone call. For those of you saying, if I call, I'm going to get a delay. I don't want to do that. They may have a different airport that's super close that doesn't have flow. It's at least an option for you. They may say, if you wait an hour, you're not going to have a delay. If I try to get you airborne now, it's not going to happen. They could have an altitude suggestion, and it may not be talking about, 10 or 15,000 foot difference. It could be the difference of a high sector and the one below that, stops at in the low 30s instead of trying to go through the 40s. I'm just throwing out examples. They could have a different altitude that circumvents that because they know, based on experience in that airspace and other programs, if I follow you for a different altitude, it might not give you such a bad time. They may have a different route for you that gets around this small part of the route that has a roadblock in it. Nothing bad against them, but it's typically Jacksonville Center.
Yeah, it's the choke point of Florida, right?
Yep. And you won't be the first person trying to get around that, but sometimes there's an alternate solution that may involve flying longer, but not going in through this saturated part of the country right there. All that to say that it doesn't mean you're going to get told there's a longer delay if you call. You're probably not going to get around that delay if you call airborne looking for your clearance. And even if it means changing the plan, it's going to probably work out better, especially for a jet, if you call on the ground for the clearance and get as much information as you can. Feed that information to your passenger who has more money than patience. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, if you're, I've not been in this position. I've never been like pushed to take off in a situation where I knew I was going to get a delay. Usually, I was going to a place coming from a race that I would be going back to this area where there's no programs.
Yeah. Right.
So I haven't had to do this, and I've been flying with other pilots that have not had to explain it to the person in the back. Hey, we can't leave right now. I know you don't want to say that. I get it. But it's better than saying when you get airborne, explaining why you had to turn around and come back.
Right.
Sorry, I spoke a lot there. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what else to add. Air traffic does not want to delay you. It's just a limited amount of airspace, and there's more planes that can be handled in that airspace.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, like RH said, you don't have the gas probably to go low. There are, I have heard of people, doing this, especially when it's an airspace flow, not an airport flow program. Like to the airport you're trying to go, it's the choke point of Florida, it's the panhandle, it's everybody trying to go through this little bottleneck. And they will fly at a normal altitude until that to some airport prior to that, stop, refuel, and then go low.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
That's an option to avoid that airspace.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways to handle it, but the controller that's 1,000 miles away from that has no idea about any of that. They just know that on your flight plan, there is a delay time, and there's nothing they can do to get around it.
Right.
We will call the traffic management unit and ask, hey, is there an altitude associated with this? And they said, yeah. They'll tell us, yeah, if they go below 230, or whatever, 220 or less, they can go whenever.
Mm-hmm.
Don't expect getting out, okay, I got out of Triad, I'm going to 220, that you get with the next sector and say, I need higher.
Yep.
They're going to go,
No.
Sorry.
You're supposed to go at this altitude. That's how you got cleared.
Right.
Now, there's plenty of examples. I'm sure there's somebody listening going, no, I've figured this out. I've gotten around it before. I hear what you're saying, but eventually you get higher. They give up. You persist and nag them. You can get around it. Okay. Yeah, sure you can. But this example in this audio was this person got told say intentions, which is code for I can't help you. I don't have the time to help you. And I can't be the problem or the solver of your problem right now.
Right. This is not happening. What do you want to do now?
You want to mention real quick, it's a good opportunity to talk about let's just say there was an airport that's very close to a metroplex. GA, you want to fly IFR. It's, it's VFR, but it's below 3,000 feet. And you want to increase the likelihood of you getting out of an airport. Why don't you talk about filing somewhere that's outside the Bravo or the ring of the Bravo and how to do that. If they want to just get out of the immediate problem, the proximity to the Metroplex, for example. Let's say it was somebody close to final there. And they want to go IFR, but they don't want to sit on the ground forever. There's a little bit of room for VFR. What can they do?
Yeah, they can depart. They can file off of an airport out of the area along your route, generally. Take off VFR, stay out of the Bravo. You could potentially do all of this without even talking to anyone.
Provided you're not going into the Bravo, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fly near this airport. When I say near, I would say when you make this call within 10 miles, pretend that you departed from that airport and you're calling for your... Are you going to wait 10 miles before you call for your IFR? Probably not. So try to stay within 10.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out what the frequency is for that airport. Yeah, just pretend like you were departing from there.
Yeah.
Call and say, hey, we're looking for our IFR off of this airport. Not your actual departure airport, but the one you filed this flight plan from.
And what that's doing in the background in the system, it shows up for the controller that's over this airport. That's why proximity matters. It could be a whole different approach facility. They will have an IFR outbound off of this secondary airport, not the one you left from, but the one you're flying over. And you'll appear like somebody getting an IFR pickup. You're outside of the congested airspace. You've done nothing illegal. You've followed all the rules. In fact, you've made it easier for you to pick up that clearance.
Yeah. And I lost my train of thought. But yes, you have definitely made it easier on the controller and on you to get something done airborne. It isn't necessary to go and land at this airport and start all over. That isn't necessary. If you can maintain VFR at some reasonable level, you can stay out of the Bravo. You're going to be able to get an airborne clearance much easier, and maybe you're only going a little bit out of your way to fly over this airport. The controller doesn't care that you didn't actually depart from that airport. They don't care. They don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they were tracking your your 1200 code flying around for some reason. But then, even then, why does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
They don't care.
Right.
Hey, if they can clear you, they're going to clear you. So part of your audio, you emphasize the importance of calling. We'll say it again. Don't be afraid to call that number. Tell them you're thinking about picking it up airborne, and they can give you an immediate, real-time information on whether or not that's a good idea or a bad idea.
Yeah, float this option. Hey, I'm willing to go and fly away from here and pick it up somewhere else. Would that work?
That's advanced. They would be very surprised to hear you say that.
Right.
And it might take them a minute to register that you're smart. That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else to add on this one?
No.
All right. Thank you, Bravo Charlie, for the audio and for supporting the show.
Actually, I would like to say, did you start the music?
Nope.
Okay. If you have a specific issue, not just a general question about this, but specific, send that in, and we might be able to drill down on what is actually going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And even there have been times where we've been able to get like local knowledge and info on that, which has been kind of interesting.
We know people.
We do.
Now I'm playing music.
Okay.
Moving on. Feedback time.
Feedback.
There are two of these. Would you like one or two?
Hang on. Sorry.
Oh, the first one you got to get. Never mind.
Okay, I'll do the first one.
Go.
From Supercaster Sierra Echo. Hey, RHNAG, just saw this come across my feed and thought I'd file this under my good idea, bad idea. Any guess which one it should be?
There will be a link in the Supercaster and supporter show notes, the deep dive. This is the one I sent you the other day.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is turning a Black Hawk into a drone, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. That's one way to put it.
I mean, I think that is eventually the goal. In this particular scenario, there's still a pilot on board, and the way that they word this is that it's allowing that pilot to do higher mission management functions and not have to worry about flying the plane or the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's delegating that to some sort of installed. So it isn't a specially built Black Hawk. They're just taking an existing Black Hawk and taking this system and installing it in the seat, basically, of where the other pilot would be.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's flying. Now, who is programming that? I see. It's just still the one guy who's supposed to be doing these mission tasks, but now he's over there fiddling around with programming the autopilot or whatever this thing is. It sounds very Black Hawkish to me, just because the Chinook just had an autopilot, that was capable of doing all of this.
Uh-huh.
And so if you were a good helicopter, you wouldn't need to have this thing installed.
Wait a second. I'm being educated on this. There's no even rudimentary altitude hold system in Apache?
No, a Black Hawk.
I'm sorry, a Black Hawk.
I don't know about Apache. I'm sure there's not.
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
It's even worse. It's even more terrible than a UH-60. But yes, there are, I think, altitude hold, heading select functions.
Mm-hmm.
And in some of the later Black Hawks, maybe Mike models, there are some autopilot functions, but not to this extent, and not to this extent of an F model Chinook.
Did the article let you know whether or not this autopilot was going to be, aided by a human in another place that wasn't in the cockpit?
Yeah, it didn't. I didn't.
It seemed vague to me.
Yeah, it did seem very vague.
Like, we can't tell you too much about this because it's top secret stuff, but let's talk about it and
right.
It bounced around on ideas.
I witnessed some of this taking place and some of this autonomous flying being done. I never saw a Black Hawk flying around like in the pattern or anything like that without someone in it.
Uh-huh.
We saw them hover occasionally without a person in there.
Mm-hmm.
But never flying around. There was always another person in this giant box where the other pilot would be.
All right. Another stupid question. Is it normal to have one or two pilots on a UH-60?
Required to have two.
Okay.
Every Army aircraft.
Okay.
When they got rid of the OH-58s, every aircraft had to have two pilots.
I haven't flown this aircraft and have no experience in helicopters, but if it makes it easier for the person that's trying to avoid getting killed, I'm all for it. But I don't think the end game seems like a removal completely of humans. It sounds like an aid to the one that stays in the airplane.
Right. You think that's the end game?
Maybe it's too optimistic.
I think it is. I think the end game is to remove people from the aircraft completely.
And you think that's a good idea or a terrible idea?
I don't think it's a good idea at all.
All right.
The times where stuff changed. Hey, the plan just changed, like, immediately. Do something different now, this second. I don't see that this an AI or autonomous, even a remote pilot having the ability to react and decide in real time very quickly, being anywhere near what a pilot there in the aircraft would be able to do. Now, if we're talking about doing a cargo mission and you're not putting people in the back, okay, I could kind of see I could kind of see the advantage here. But when you're talking about putting people on the ground somewhere and you have to decide at the last minute, nope, this LZ isn't going to work, or nope, we got to, air Chalk 1 couldn't land at their spot, so now they're moving over. Now they're in the way. We have to go around. Like, stuff happens very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. You have a second or two to decide what to do. I don't know. Do you think that something?
No, I don't. I mean, there's got to be some intervening to let it know what's happening, explain it, wait for it to come up with a solution. When a human can do that and it has to do it immediately or people die.
Yeah.
I think it's if that's the goal, is if like you said, is to remove both pilots, that's not a good idea.
I just know there were times where, we would go land. We're coming into land. We would brown out. We're in the dust at 100 feet, and the aircraft next to you starts drifting into you. If you did nothing, you're both going to crash and die. So the one that sees it has to immediately respond with some, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
He wrote some other stuff if you want to finish the feedback. Sorry.
I think it's a terrible idea.
Okay. So count us as 2 bad ideas.
Right. All right. From, where were we at? Oh, cheers. From your tech support, I think you helped us during a show tech meltdown. Oh, yeah, that's right. Reporting from the friendliest delta between the Hollywood Bravo and Soap Opera Charlie, Sierra Echo. P.S. Hope everything has been smooth on the IT front.
I don't think that's a new name. Soap Opera Charlie?
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
Okay, I already said my 2 cents on that one. That's all I have for that one.
Yeah. You're right. There is automation that's super helpful. And in the Chinook, it was unbelievably helpful. Unbelievably helpful. We could not have done the stuff we did without it. Mm-hmm. Like the aircraft flying itself at 100 feet in a dust cloud. That's almost impossible for a person to do. But making the decision about, do we continue doing that or do something different, is in a different world than just the capability of doing it. So,
thank you. All right, I got number 2.
Okay.
From Emperor Captain Echo Delta. Gentlemen, some recent adventures has me wondering something. At what point is an aircraft so slow that it creates a challenge for operating at a larger airport, say a Bravo, or I think you meant Charlie here? I asked because Juliet Delta and I are exploring in a just Super Stol, an aircraft with a cruise of around 90 knots and a pattern speed in the 40s. We like a hover. We were briefly discussing taking this mighty beast into the Steel City Bravo, but it seemed like we would be wholly unwelcome due to the performance. I know the Mar-a-Lago Charlie routinely yells at aircraft that cannot maintain 130 or better on final. A Bravo seems even more likely to need higher speeds. So the question is, how slow is too slow? Echo Delta from inside and on a Penguin Airlines 787. I mean this in fun. Triad is busier than Steel City Bravo, so that actually might be true.
It might be true, yeah.
Call ahead and ask when they're the busiest and avoid a time, but I think they might enjoy seeing that plane, that specific Bravo. This is unique. Once you get a Bravo designation, it could take decades, if ever, that they're going to take it away. And the traffic that required that Bravo is 30 years old. That's right. Hasn't been a thing in a long time. So
yeah.
We love you, Steel City Bravo, but we're sending GA airplanes up there to do pattern work. And one of them can do 40 knots in the pattern.
Yeah, hey, if we can do it.
How do I get the number for the tower? Call a satellite airport that is non-towered in that area, or get the approach controller and say, hey, do you have a number to the tower? We're going to try to work out a time, but that's an up-down facility like Triad. They work both tower and radar. So whoever you get on the phone should be able to give you a straight answer on whether or not this is a terrible idea.
I think it would be fine.
I do too. Let's speak in general terms. Class Bravo airports are designed to handle volume and air carriers, so it's best to find out if this is unique and if you're allowed there before you go. So I think there's a time and a place for all of this stuff. And during COVID, a lot of general aviation did explore and land and get the logbook entry of going to a Bravo airport, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Not sure that's as welcome now with traffic back to normal levels. So
no, yeah, you're not going into Metroplex in the middle of a push in a Skyhawk, but they still have those times where it's the slowdown in between arrivals and departures, and they are still taking those aircraft. They do it all the time. We send them down there all the time, and they go in and come out. So yes,
just be careful how you walk down. It's not an entitlement, and going into a Bravo for funsies.
Right.
You might get mixed reviews on the controllers working that. Like, what are you doing here? You just want to do a touch and go? Like, it would be awesome if they knew you had called ahead and someone said, when they walked in, hey, we got a call about an hour ago. There's an airplane coming in. They're just going to do one touch and go. We told them this is in between arrival banks. And now they know you did a little bit of, it's sort of like due diligence. You didn't just show up expecting to get it because you're there.
Right.
Is that fair?
I think that's fair.
Cool. Have fun. Send us pictures of you doing pattern work at Steel City Bravo. And we could all laugh how there's no airplanes on the ground there.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look, it's empty.
Oh, boy.
Anything to add to that one?
No.
All right. We do our best to respond to supporter feedback and let you know when you'll be on an upcoming show. Closing out episode 437 of Opposing Bases Air Traffic Talk. Romeo Hotel.
And Alpha Golf. Goodbye, everyone.
Drop. Opposing Bases is a listener-supported, ad-free weekly podcast. The views expressed on the show do not reflect the opinions or official positions of the FAA or Penguin Airlines. Episodes are for entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace flight instruction. To get on-time access, bonus content, and full archive access, join the crew at opposingbases.supercast.com.